Hey, my name's Clayton Olson, and I am a relationship coach who's been helping people for the past 11 years create extraordinary relationships. And this video is a training that is for professionals and business owners who may be at a breaking point in their relationship and you don't know what to do next. This could be an early stage relationship where you are getting to know somebody and you can tell it's very significant, but for whatever reason, it is bringing all of your stuff up to deal with, and it's really confusing. Or you might be married and you've been together for many years now, and you've reached a juncture, an inflection point in your relationship where something needs to change. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. So my aim in this training is to equip you with the tools to help you save your relationship without couples counseling and actually create a breakthrough in your relationship so that you can experience deeper love and a lasting, devoted partnership together. There's a myth that it takes two people to save a relationship. And I want to say that after years of working with people that this is just absolutely not true. When one person is fully committed and changes the way that they show up, the way that they listen to the other person, the way that they respond to what's happening in the relationship, the system, the geometry of the relationship has no choice but to shift and change. And so my message today is to empower you that even if you are the only one that's working on this right now, that you can make a fundamental shift in your experience of the relationship that can actually help the whole thing evolve. So I've used the tools that I'm going to talk about today with over 1,000 clients, and many of them that have been going through divorces and breakups and have been in these inflection points in the relationship. And there's a few people that I think are worth mentioning. A client that I had named Valerie, who when she came to me, she was suffering with patterns of anxiety and some people-pleasing tendencies that were really beginning to push her guy away and ultimately have her start to almost sabotage the connection because of the fear that was coming up. And through our work together, we really helped her find her voice. We helped her find her balance, a more secure, stable foundation within herself to really build this relationship from. And it's been over a year at this point, and they're going to be getting married at this point and have a family on the way. And I'm incredibly proud of the work that she's done on herself and the ways that she's been able to take these tools and apply them to her life to create really a life-changing new chapter that's coming up. Or my client, George, who came to me, he was married for a while and his marriage was on the rocks. It was in a really tough spot. And through our work, we helped him really come into deeper alignment to learn how to really open his heart in the relationship and to listen differently and to speak differently to his partner. And it fundamentally changed some of the beliefs that he had that were holding him back from being all in and being able to really be a powerful influence and stand for the health of the relationship. Since then, now they've been married for years as a result of getting through this. And I think more importantly is it wasn't about putting out a fire, but it was actually about using that inflection point, the break point in his relationship, as a way to help the relationship grow to a completely new level. So it's actually better off because of this time that he went through that was difficult. And so that's the invitation to you, is that if you're in this situation right now, what if this break point is actually in service of the relationship's evolution and something has to change and it's going to change for the better? So hold that in mind as we go through this. This process is also very deeply personal to me as well. Not only have I been using it with clients that I work with who are on the verge of a breakup, but I've also been at relationship breakpoints with my partner over the last 10 years of knowing her. And, we've gotten to places where it has felt impossible, where I have felt like I did not know what to do and what the next step was. And through some of the steps here, I have been able to turn things around, and we have been able to fundamentally shift the way that we're communicating, the way that we love each other, the capacity to have really honest conversations and to challenge each other into higher and higher levels of evolution where we have more intimacy, more connection, more security to be able to feel safe in the relationship and to also be ourselves outside the relationship. And so I'm excited to share this with you today because this stuff works and there is hope if you are finding yourself in this current circumstance. So right now you might be feeling like you are experiencing some anxiety, and maybe you're being accused of being overly sensitive in your relationship. You might be feeling powerless, stuck in negative thought loops, or like you're losing control. You might be struggling with some people-pleasing tendencies that are coming out in the relationship, and that no matter what you do to try to please your partner, it seems like it's working against you. There might be ineffective communication, frequent arguments. Maybe the two of you are ignoring each other or you're being ignored, and it just feels like you're at an impasse. There might be a lack of motivation that you're noticing with your partner. There might be diminished intimacy. Maybe even there's some growing resentment underneath, and you're wondering whether or not you guys are even going to make it. And, I've been here as well in my earlier days. Is like, God, am I even capable of creating a healthy relationship, because this feels so difficult? And so I want to say that this is actually the exact point where many of the clients that I work with and have worked with come to me. They come to me at this place where there is a certain amount of pain, and there's an opening that occurs for them to do some really deep work and begin to re-examine the ways that they're showing up and what relationship is to them, so that they can make it to the next level. So the point of this methodology is not just to fix something that might feel broken. It's actually to help you begin to create new levels of peace in the relationship, to have a deep level of trust with your partner, to feel like your needs are being met consistently, to help reignite the intimacy, the passion, like when you first fell in love, to feel understood and appreciated even when life is hard. And I think that's super important, is that, like, what if the difficulties in the relationship actually were things that brought you closer versus created a rift between the two of you? Ultimately, help you release any of the people-pleasing tendencies that you might have, the ways in which your anxiety is expressing itself in the relationship. Let go of that fully so that you don't have to tiptoe around issues, to really be able to show up as yourself and be loved for it, so that you can feel secure and solid in your relationship and truly grow with your partner to the next level. So before I go into the specifics, I want to just name that I think there's two paths that people take when they hit a relationship breakpoint. For many people, the breaking point in the relationship is actually the end of the relationship. There is a lack of capacity to maybe be with the uncertainty, with the intensity of the relationship, feeling stuck. And many people hit the eject button and they get out and they say, they're not the right person for me, or this just doesn't feel good. I should be happy. I'm not. I'm going to get out. Look, for some people, ending a relationship, I think, is the way to go. But for many of us that decide to end a relationship, we do it prematurely. And we don't do it in a way that allows us to really learn the lesson that's in front of us, to actually complete the learning. And so what typically happens is we might leave one relationship thinking that there's a better one out there, and then we find something and we end up running into the same problem later, because we realize that the work that is needing to be done, we can't avoid it. And it's either going to happen in this relationship or it's going to happen in the next one. There's that saying that wherever you go, there you are. And I think that can't be more true than in relationship. And for other people, I think that we can use the relationship, I see people use the relationship as one of the greatest opportunities for them to experience tremendous personal growth, and for you to really experience a new level of relational power if you use this breakpoint as a doorway and a vehicle to your evolution and growth as a human. So when we use it that way, when we position ourselves and see the relationship breakpoint that way, I believe we can create breakthroughs in our intimacy and even deeper levels of trust with our partner previously, because what happens is the deeper work, as you'll see, is we start to confront some of these things that have been subconscious inside of us that are now being brought out by the relationship for us to actually do the work on and to reorganize them and to do our own healing, so that we can be in better relationship with ourselves and better relationship with others. So here's the methodology, just at a quick overview. We have reflect, which is essentially about getting present to the circumstance. We have responsible, which means acting and speaking in alignment and coming from the most empowering place within us. And then we have re-envision, which is about really living into the future, living into the future that we want, becoming a leader and a visionary in our relationship, even during these tough times. So let's move into reflect. So this first shift is about slowing down and getting super aware and curious about what's happening right now in your relationship. This is the exact opposite of what most people do when they're in pain. When people are typically in pain or your relationship is in rupture, it feels like you're on fire and you just want water to put it out as quickly as possible. And so we typically get very myopic and narrow focused on what we think is the problem, and we try to solve it. But unfortunately, when we go about it that way, reactively trying to solve something, we end up working on the wrong problem. We're not present to the deeper issue. We might think that it's the other person's fault or that there's a way in which we're stuck, but we're not really seeing that underneath there's something more for us to look at, more for us to become aware of, which will give us more resourcefulness and creativity to be with our situation. In this phase of reflect, we're making the unconscious patterns that you may be stuck in conscious. And we all have these things. There's no getting out of this scot-free, right? We pick up these patterns from childhood. We pick up these patterns from our parents. We pick up these patterns from different things that happened to us when we were younger, and they end up expressing themselves in the way that we're relating. And then we pick somebody that draws that out of us, and we have the opportunity to work with it and rewrite it. And here's, I think, just a really succinct way of saying that. We often are most attracted to and pick partners or create situations to help us heal our deepest wounds. And unfortunately, a part of that process is that our partner will, with uncanny accuracy, know exactly how to agitate these wounds to bring them to the surface. And so this way, I almost would say that, what if we looked at your partner as a teacher in disguise, right? There's something there reflecting to us that we can look at. And that doesn't mean it's like, oh, it's all our fault, right? But the invitation to maneuver here is, how can we use this situation from a place of empowerment and agency to create gold in our life? So leads into the next question that I love to ask. If this circumstance was an initiation for your highest self, how are you being asked to grow right now? Right? What character qualities are lying dormant within you that are ready to be cultivated into this next version that you can become, that you can fall more in love with? What if that's what these challenging situations and places of feeling stuck and hopeless are actually there for? It's there to crack open a potential. So think about that for a moment. In this phase, we are really getting a detailed look at what's happening. Past, present, future. We're looking at the different beliefs you might have about relationship, the different beliefs you might have about yourself, the ways in which you might be giving your power away in the relationship. We're looking at it through the lens of curiosity, almost as if we're admiring an art project that might feel like a tragedy right now, but it still is your creation. How can we look at it with curiosity and openness and start to see what's in our blind spot? I have a picture of a cocoon here because I think that this really captures the essence of this phase. A caterpillar winds itself up really, really tight in its thread until it can't move and it gets completely stuck and it's completely dark, and then it just liquefies and it turns into something. But in the process of that liquefaction, I'm sure that it feels like death. There's some aspect of that organism that is dying and then being reborn. Look, what if that's actually happening right now in your relationship? There is an element of you that is actually asking to be reborn. There's another level of you that is coming online, but there's some part of you that needs to complete. There's some way of being, some way of showing up in relationship that is being asked for that chapter to come to a close. So a couple questions when I'm working with my clients around this that I love to ask are the following. Feel free to pause this video if you want to really contemplate these. Where are you letting your thoughts and fear control your responses? Make a list. What specifically has been so painful in this relationship? Right? Is it that you don't feel seen, that you don't feel understood, that you feel rejected by your partner, that you feel unloved or uncared for by them? There's a number of things it can be. And as you tap into that, is there anything about that feels familiar? Is this the first time that you're experiencing that? Right? Or have you experienced this in the past somewhere? This is just to raise your awareness, to start to expand the scope of what's actually happening here. And then I love this one. Where have you been hiding in your connection, or where have you been giving your power away? there are so many ways in which we hide in relationship. We hide from being rejected. We hide from perhaps being accused. We hide our needs or our desires because maybe there's a shame around them. And when we hide and we give our power away, there is a circumstance that we create within ourselves that often feels like it's intolerable. And so part of this process is looking for what are the things that you have control over that can help you start to bring yourself back to life. And this is, again, what I do with my clients here. So we do a real deep dive and we go beyond these questions and we go into the nuances of what's happening to help illuminate the blind spots, to illuminate the ways and the unconscious things that you might be doing or assumptions that you're making about your partner and about relationship that are going unquestioned. And we begin to test the walls of what seem like reality and see if they can move so that we can open you up to have a greater awareness and greater flexibility to approach your situation. By making the unconscious conscious, you'll regain your power and clarity and have more flexibility in your thinking and approach. And then the second shift I take people into is to learn to be response-able. I say response-able because you must be able to respond and not be reactive during this time. What perpetuates and keeps the break point in this stuck state where things are deteriorating is cycles of reactivity. Your partner gets triggered or you get triggered, and then they get counter-triggered, you get counter-triggered, and then it just escalates, right? And it can escalate into where either one of you is getting big and angry, and maybe the other person is withdrawing and pulling away. And what's happening is we're putting a cinch on the flow of communication between the two of you. And so most people are in this place reactively communicating with their partner, which means the words and actions that come forth are automatic and from fear, anger, desperation, insecurity. And when we communicate in these reactive ways, our relationship will continue to spiral. Because your language is incredibly powerful. It's a tool that you can use that is the lifeblood of your relationship. It is the thing that actually creates realities. It's the thing that allows you to enroll your partner in a new future. It is the thing that helps them see who you are more clearly and for you to also communicate to them that you see and understand them. And if we are using our language unconsciously and being run by our triggers, then we are not connected to our partner. We're often leaving our heart behind in the communication, and we're in a place of fear and contraction. And so in this stage, we are looking to see how is it that the two of you are communicating with each other? How are you pitching and catching with them? How are you playing into the dance, the dysfunctional dance? And what is it that you can begin to do to actually let go of the rope of tension and stop playing that game and start to invite them as you lead into another dimension of communicating? So we're looking at ways in which you might be creating a lack of attraction in your relationship, how you might be pushing them away with your language, perpetuating a toxic pattern, communicating in a needy, hiding, indirect way that is actually confusing. Where are you creating more fear in them? Where are you judging them? Where is their defensiveness, scarcity, urgency, unquestioned negative assumptions? These are all things that come with our communication when it's unconscious and we're not wielding that tool properly. Here's just a tip to feel into. See, when you feel contracted on the inside, when you have that tightness in your chest and that tightness in your throat and you're in a fear response, and then your communication is aimed at trying to get some type of power back or it's trying to eliminate that fear inside of you, you actually create more contraction with your partner because it's less about the words and it's more about where you're communicating from on the inside that their body is responding to. And so part of the work in this is actually learning how to be with your emotional experience, to be able to be with the wattage of energy that you're feeling in your relationship and not have it collapse you, not have it push you into fear or anxiety or anger, but allow you to be stable, cool, calm, and collected in the storm of emotions. And then from that place, communicate. This is what I work with my clients on. And I also want to just put out the 3 C's or the 4 C's of communicating here that I think are a really great temperature check that you can look to see if is your communication funneling through this perspective. Is it courageous? Courageous meaning vulnerable, transparent, direct, right? Asking for what you want. Is it conscious? Is it intentional? Is it relational? Are you respecting proper timing? Is it clean and clear? Are you communicating from a place of neutrality as much as possible when you're talking to your partner, where it is void of accusations, attacks, and any type of baggage that you might be holding on to, right? So courageous, conscious, clean, and clear. Ask yourself, if you have to talk to somebody, if you have to talk to your partner after this video training, just run it through that. Am I being courageous? Am I being conscious? Am I being clean and clear in the way I'm communicating right now? Where you communicate from on the inside is far more important than the words that you use. Remember that. The beauty of getting this aspect of this shift down and really cultivating this practice is that this is where the clients that I work with really start to see the transformation happen in their relationship. Fights that have seemed circular, where you have the same argument again and again, there's actually an off-ramp. And many times it's invisible to us. There's a way of neutralizing that argument by just shifting the way that you're speaking and shifting the way that you're listening to them and not getting counter-triggered. That's what we teach in this module. And what you'll see is that suddenly your partner will become more receptive. They'll start to soften. They'll be more open, and they might actually end up following your lead and being able to communicate differently because more of their resourcefulness comes back online and they're not in a triggered fight or flight stage. As a result, a whole new level of intimacy can become possible through this practice. And then finally, we're moving into shift 3, which is re-envision. And the re-envision stage is where we are helping you live from the answer, the deep answer that we get from this question, which is, if this circumstance was an initiation for your highest self, how are you being asked to grow? Right? So how can you use this relationship, this break point in the relationship, to create a breakthrough? Who is it that you are being cultivated into from this? What is the call that you are answering, the hidden call in your relationship, and the next version of you that's waiting for you on the other side? So in this shift, a new vision for you and your relationship emerges. A set of principles, values, and clarity get set in place to help guide you. And you move from putting out fires in your connection to actually being a leader and building a new foundation to create a thriving relationship from. This happens as a result of you cleaning up the distortions on your side of the fence, some of the false beliefs that you've been buying into, the ways that maybe you have been not fully aligned in the relationship. It's doing the deeper work of opening your heart and rewriting beliefs about relationships that are holding you back and stopping you from connecting with your inherent value in the relationship and what you have to offer. And when I say that, a lot of the people I work with, they know they're valuable. They're successful. They take care of themselves. They're independent. They can be business owners. They've got a great career, but maybe they're struggling in relationship. That's the one area. And so oftentimes our value is like we intellectually get it, but sometimes it's not fully embodied, or there's a way in which we lose touch with it when we're in relationship. If that's you, just know that you're not alone. It's a very common experience because relationship can rock us to our core, all the way down to when we were the younger part of us that's there on the inside. So in this stage, this is where you step into your most loving, powerful, and stable self so that you can be a real champion for the relationship and know that these difficulties are the best thing that's happened to both of you because of what's possible on the other side. Who you are being in your relationship right now dictates what happens next. Are you coming from fear and contraction and trying to grab power? Or are you coming from an openness, a fearlessness, a courage, a loving, firm stance? The step is about moving you to a place of courage, clarity, and openness, curiosity, and stability, and love. So here's just a few questions that you can begin to ponder during this stage. They're ones that I give clients, but I think it's worth journaling on, just feeling into. Where can you right now take responsibility for your growth and happiness within the relationship? If you were fully detached from the outcome and you could operate fearlessly right now, how would you choose to love your partner? What would that look like? Right? What would that look like if you could just be completely free and you could just choose to love them? How would you want to do that? And then what will your relationship look like when it's thriving? And this is just to begin to cast like a grappling hook out there in the future. And many people answer the question looking backwards. And they say, oh, it will look like when we first met or at an earlier time when things were good. My challenge to you in this is actually to look forward and say, wow, who would we have to be as a couple to get through this? Right? That's a really powerful inquiry to stand in. See, the point of this shift is to help you really become a visionary during this time. Because again, what happens when we reach difficult places is we often lose that visionary function. We forget about it and we just try solving something right in the moment. And the real move here that creates the difference is actually to slow down and start to dream bigger so that we can start to orient to that vision versus orienting to trying to defend ourselves. I've got a picture of a butterfly coming out of that cocoon because this is where it happens in shift 3. And that butterfly might represent you. That butterfly might actually represent the relationship, the new form that it starts to take. And from here, you start to see that all the challenges are initiations into becoming a better you. And so, I want to leave you with this. There is a dance that the two of you have been in. And you might have been in this for a couple months. You might have been here for a couple years. But I will say this, as you change, as you truly do the work and commit and transform, the other person has no choice but to change with you. Because when we move towards health and healthy relating, it is often the most powerful and effective form of influence to help your partner change. Change by example, not by force. At a core level, we all want to move to health, but we often just don't know how. And I like to say that all tension in a relationship wants to be resolved. No one wants to live with this tension. It wants to be resolved. And oftentimes how it gets resolved is we break up. But it can also be resolved through transforming. It can also be resolved through making it through this dark period to the other side. And your partner on a deep level wants to find resolution to the pain that you guys are in. And so this is where my clients, they start to show up more secure, loving, stable, with a solid foundation. The anxiety starts to disappear and a new level of confidence and personal power emerges. This relationship breakpoint can be a transformative energy in your life right now. It doesn't have to be a destructive one. And, I'll say this, there's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantee that the relationship will make it through this. But I will say is that if it does complete, it will happen from a place of clarity. It will happen from a place of you knowing that you did all that you could to transform into the best version of yourself, to spread your wings, and to offer the most loving invitation for your partner in the relationship to come with you. And at the very least, you will be able to sleep at night knowing that you did what you could. And if you do nothing and you stay in this relationship breakpoint and you continue to feel disempowered in it, that's not going to last. It will complete at that point. And so, the invitation is to see it through this lens, these 3 shifts, so that you can make the biggest difference and take a valiant effort of using this experience to move to the next level. If you're at a point in your relationship right now where you are wanting to create a breakthrough, I am happy to have a conversation with you and see how this methodology maps to your specific situation. You'll get some insights from our conversation. You'll have some immediate steps you can walk away with. And if it seems like it's a fit and you're someone that I know that I can help, then I can offer an invitation for us to work together longer term. I don't take on everybody, as I want to work with people that it's going to be a win-win. So the first step is to have a conversation, and we can go from there and see whether or not your situation is one that would fit inside of this model. And you can either click on the link below in this description to find my calendar appointment, answer a few questions, and we can talk when it works for you. Or you can follow me on Instagram at Clayton Olson Coaching. Send me a DM, and we can continue the conversation that way. Thanks for watching. I hope you got a lot out of this. If this is your first time seeing me, like, subscribe, comment below. I'd love to hear what situation you're going through, share what you feel comfortable with, and hopefully talk with you soon.